I suppose you've seen a show called The Sopranos on television. Have you seen that? It's about, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's about a mafia family in New Jersey. And it's bizarre because you actually, this guy Tony Soprano is a complete psychotic, murdering jerk, but you really grow to like him. And you start to pick up on his philosophies and stuff, and you start to, in a way, act like him almost, except you don't kill people. But, you know, there's one scene where he and his friend Paulie have to go to Florida to run away because someone was building a new house and found 2 bodies underneath it. And his lawyers say you better get out of town for a month, you know. So they went down to Florida, and when they went down to Florida, he was sitting around with some cousins or something having a dinner, and the boys kept saying, remember this, remember that, remember when we killed that guy, and all that kind of thing. And all that kind of... Tony got kind of pissed off, and he stood up and he said, oh, you guys need to learn something, you know. Remember when is the lowest form of conversation. You kind of could hear the whole country going, really? You can't say remember when anymore? But anyhow, I remember when there was a hairdresser in Wexford called Tony Myler who gave gorgeous perms. He was known for being a very good permist. And Tony himself had a gorgeous perm. And he had an assistant called Kate who he taught the technique to, and she picked it up pretty well, and she was nearly almost as good as him. Nearly almost as good was the standard in Ireland at the time. So, my mother was a very active person, and she always had to be up to something, so she thought she'd get Kay to come and give her a perm in the house, because Kay was doing that on the sly for a chemistry pop. So she got organized with 3 sisters and herself to have well, she came and she permed the whole bloody lot of them. And they were up in the sitting room. It was a three-story house on the quay. You know, we had a shop on the bottom, and then in the middle of the floor was the sitting room, and that had a piano and a fireplace and a fire. And a television set. And then on the top floor we had the bedrooms, which were freezing. And of course the television was off and the fire was lighting and the piano was closed, and they were all up there in the sitting room. And I thought I'd go up there and check this out because it was a Monday night and there was not much to do. And this guy who was boarding in the house from Cork, he and I went up there and sat by the fire and watched the goings on. So she brought with her a friend. Kate brought a friend called Joyce, who was very sexy. She had like short hair like Twiggy, and big eyes, and thin face, and she was well built. You know, and you know, I couldn't help but notice, even though I wasn't quite 15 at the time, I still spotted that she was attractive. So what she was doing there on a Monday night beats me, but I suppose there was nothing else to do. There was 3 TV stations with nothing on it. Now there'd be 300 stations with nothing on it, and you'd stay home for the 300 nothings. So she kept asking me questions like, where did you come from? I said, I live here. Things like that. And I didn't really say anything back to her because I didn't know how to talk to women yet. And of course that made her more intrigued by me, the fact that I wasn't really speaking. That works very well. So eventually they left, and the court guy said, I couldn't help but notice, like, that girl, like Joyce, like, I think she fancied Pierce. I was so embarrassed. I mean, with 100 shades of red. I wasn't supposed to even looking at girls yet. Because my ma figured if you looked at a girl, you'd marry her right away and that'd be the end of it. So, but I noticed at the corner of my eye she was slightly chuffed. So anyhow, I met Joyce at a dance the following week, the Yuletide dance, which was for young kids a lot of times, their first dance. And I got off with her, and I went home with her. And I kissed her, and I wasn't used to that either. But she was well used to it. Because she was nearly 20. I got to say that. She nearly choked me. So, I thought I'm on to something here, but I wasn't sure what it was. The next dance I went to, I thought I was going to get off her again. I was completely smitten with her now. And of course, there was another fella there who was home from sea. And he had hair on his arms and stuff. And he had a tan and hair on his chest. And I'm sure he was shaven. And he probably drank as well. She went off with him, and then I knew I was in trouble. I knew she was going to be doing that. She did that a lot because she was the last available woman in town, basically, at that age, you know. So all the boys come up and see, everyone went off with her. I don't know why. Anyway, she put me off Permist forever.